Welcome to all of our fellow business professionals out there to Making Sales Social Live, brought to you by Social Sales Link. I'm Bob Woods, and I'm joined by co-host and fellow LinkedIn type of person, Bryn Tillman. Hey, Bryn.
Type of person.
I couldn't think of anything that was like
I'm a
flowery or
LinkedIn
whatever.
type of person. Hello,
Yes,
hello. Another fabulous LinkedIn type of person, Bob Woods. How are you today?
I am doing great today. Welcome to Making Sales Social Live, as we share LinkedIn and social selling training, strategies, and tips that will have an immediate impact on your business. Join Bryn Tillman and me, Bob Woods, every week. Making Sales Social Live. This is the recorded version of our weekly Making Sales Social Live show.
What are we talking about?
We are talking about social selling and outbound and inbound. So when many people think of using LinkedIn for sales, they see it as an outbound tool. But in social selling, LinkedIn becomes both an outbound and an inbound tool. Social selling is actually a hybrid of digital sales and marketing, with marketing mainly being the inbound rather part of the equation, and sales, which is primarily the outbound part. For social selling to truly succeed though, you need both parts. So today we're going to take a look at both ends of the equation, starting with the marketing slash inbound part.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to start that off with curating and sharing content, which is going to be a little bit different from the second point that we're going to talk about. But right now, we're just talking about curating and sharing essentially other people's content, Bren.
I love this. And I love curating content. We have to think about, before we go out and curate content, what is it that our buyers care about? That's the first thing, right? What's going to
Yep.
attract, teach, and engage them? And sharing content that our buyers care about is critical, because most of the time we're sharing content that we care about. So, a couple of quick things: use hashtags that your buyers are following to look at topics that they're engaging on, look at their activity. What content are they looking at? Are they engaging on? What influencers do they follow? And curate content from them, right? Those influencers, you could go down to the bottom of any of your connections profiles. And if they are following influencers, then we know essentially the kinds of content that they'll probably be interested in, content
Yep.
by those influencers. And
Yep.
then engaging on those influencers' content, sharing it back with our 2 cents will help us become a micro influencer in that world.
Yeah. And then probably the other big thing that I like to talk about is just listening to your prospects when you're on those prospecting calls with them, or when you're on discovery or whatever you want to call it. Anything that seems to be a common thread that comes up among several people, you should kind of go, maybe that's something that I could share content about. Because if these people are asking questions, I wouldn't doubt it that a lot of other people who are looking at me and my company to potentially buy from, they probably have those questions too. So, always be listening, always be thinking, okay, what can I take away from this conversation or from these conversations that I could potentially turn into content?
So that's our second one, which is creating content.
Well, that could also be for curating and sharing content too. If you come across an article that you want to share that was recently discussed, you could absolutely do that with other people's content as well. So it actually falls into both categories. I think, at least.
Good bridge to number two.
Good bridge to number two. Exactly. Yes. Creating your own content.
Yeah, I'm going to jump into what you said, and I'm going to simplify it by saying capture your own genius, right?
Yes.
Listen to the questions that your prospects and your clients are asking you, and use your answers as content. Big area of opportunity. Other original pieces of content: LinkedIn video, LinkedIn Live, like we're doing right now,
Mhm.
ebooks, polls, lots of content that you can create that's not just a blog, but creating that content around the topics that your buyers want to consume. We talk a lot about Don't lead with your solution, lead to your solution. When you lead with your solution, it's coming across as a pitch. When you lead to your solution, you're providing value and insights. And the more you give away, the more they want to do business with you.
Exactly. Exactly. So we were just talking about influencer content just a second ago. Since you're already looking at the influencers to see what they're sharing, why not engage with their content as well while you're there? So engaging with influencer content, we think, is very important as well, because it's a great way to add your very informed and thought leadership branding 2 cents to pieces of content that a lot of other people are already seeing, especially the people who you are trying to get in as prospects. They're already seeing it because they're already reading the content from the influencers.
Absolutely. And we're talking about outbound right now. There's a lot of
Yes.
inbound you can do with that, and we'll
Right.
probably
Ton of
touch on
inbound.
that in a little bit. But from an outbound perspective, make sure when you're sharing that content, you're mentioning the influencer. If they have a
That too.
company name, you're mentioning the company name. If they are shared in media, like maybe they shared a piece that Forbes published, mention Forbes. Those are the times where it's totally appropriate to mention the author, their company, and the publisher, the media outlet. That will also help to attract their followers, right? They'll potentially engage on it. Their followers will now see this, and it can really help the inbound of the right types of people. And I'm a LinkedIn type of person. No, I'm just
You
going back
are.
to no, but it will help you attract the right types of people. So that's great.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
What's
now
next, Bob? Yeah.
we are pivoting to the sales slash outbound bound part of the social selling equation, and we're going to approach this from a couple of three actually different yet interconnected types of ways, because it's all about outbound, obviously. So the first one, I call it direct outreach. I'm not exactly sure what you would call it, just because it's probably the most direct out of the three things that we're going to be talking about here.
Yeah, and so many people ask about this. And so, we've put together 3 quick workflows that we're going to talk through to ultimately have an outbound cadence that converts to conversations. So the first one is the most direct. And this is also often the least effective, but everyone wants to know, what's my fastest way to a direct connect? So what this really is warming up a cold call, essentially. So there is a newer feature on LinkedIn, which is ring the bell of somebody on someone's profile. So if they're a first degree, the bell is there. You ring the bell. You will be notified when they share content. If they're not a first degree, you have to follow them first and then ring the bell. Then their content is going to come into your notifications. So if you're ringing the bell of all of your prospects and you go into notifications and you see there are 5 or 6 of these prospects that shared content today, we're going to engage on each of their individual activity. Then here's the kicker.
Looking to up your LinkedIn game? The Social Sales Link team has you covered with our LinkedIn Sales Accelerator, a guided social selling program that includes training, coaching, and so much more. Visit socialsaleslink.com/in for more details. Again, that's socialsaleslink.com/in.
Right? Find corresponding content to share with them. So, Bob, I really enjoyed the video that you put out on LinkedIn profile tips. I recently saw this checklist from ABC and I thought you might get some value from it. Let me know if you're interested. I'm happy to send it to you. Right? This becomes the outbound cadence, or there are a lot of things that you can do, taking the topic that they shared and finding additional content. Bonus on this, go to listennotes.com and you can start to find podcasts on those topics, but ask permission to send it, right? Make sure you're saying, hey, came across this based on the activity I see you're sharing. I thought you might like it. Let me know if you're interested. I'll send you a link. They say yes, you send the link. Ask for their feedback, their thoughts. You can even say, is there other content that you follow? What other influencers do you follow, right? So you're going to ask a question there. And then ultimately, with enough back and forth, You can say, hey, Bob, I don't know if LinkedIn and social selling is important to you or a priority to you or something you're exploring, but I have a checklist of X, Y, and Z I'm happy to share with you. And now you can share your content after that back and forth. So that's workflow number one, kind of that direct.
Before we go on to number two, real quick, there's just something that I'd like to quickly add. So with direct outreach, everybody thinks it's cold, and while Brenna's done an excellent job in showing how this way is definitely not cold, one of the things that I like about the best is actually the first two steps: ringing the bell and engaging in individuals' activities. So I refer to something called pinging on people's radars. So when you go through those first steps, because to ring the bell, you're not notified when people ring your bell, and people aren't notified when with the opposite, essentially. But to ring the bell, you have to get to their profile. So they will be notified when you view their profile. And then when you engage on the activity, then obviously they are going to get notifications that you have engaged in their activity too. So each of those represents a radar ping, so that by the time you do reach out to them, you should be in their minds as someone who has been interested in a meaningful way, especially because you're engaging in their activity as well. So it's really not cold at all by the time you get to that point.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So number two, what's our second one?
Leveraging polls.
My
Great.
favorite.
Polls are
I
great.
love this.
Polls are great.
So you want to put out a poll, and when you think about a poll and that you're publishing, we wanted to do a couple things. We want it to be a question that your buyers would be happy to answer, but we also want it to be a question that your buyers want to know how other people are answering.
Mhm.
LinkedIn does a very good job. You can't see how people voted until you vote. So if you've created enough curiosity with your buyer and they want to know how other people are voting, they have to vote. So the last piece of that poll is it needs to be discovery-ish. It needs to be actionable. You want to ask a question that you can follow up with insights, right? So that it leads to your solution. After we have published that poll, we want to search our first degree connections and identify who it is that we're connected to that we would like to engage and we would like for them to vote on our poll. We are going to send them a quick little note that says, hey, Bob, as a LinkedIn professional, I love your one-click vote on a poll that I just published. Once it closes, I'm happy to reach out and share the insights we gleaned from you and your peers. So now we have a way in, right? So once we've done that, we're going to create a corresponding content or a little ebook on a report, like you build the report that you can share with people. And then you reach out to each of them and message them, Bob, thanks so much for your vote on the poll. As promised, I've compiled the results and some insights we gleaned. I'd love to share this with you. Are you open to a quick 15-minute call? If so, please let me know your preferred way to schedule. If it happens to be via calendar link, here's mine. Simple. And that poll is, you post the poll, there's some inbound that's going to happen. Actually, there's crossover. There's just some natural inbound that's going to happen. But we can use that poll for outbound too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Polls are great. Polls are still good in the LinkedIn algorithm. They're not quite what they used to be, but they're still good ways. And especially if you use them in the way that Bryn just described, by having people contacting, by reaching out directly to people, the algorithm doesn't count quite as much, because hopefully these people are actually answering, and these are the people that you want to talk to as well.
Very focused.
Very
Yep, yep,
focused.
yep.
Absolutely.
And our last one for the day.
Referrals and referral based kind of marketing in terms of, or sales actually, because you're going to be using it for sales, in terms of getting those names of people who are in your network that you're trying to reach out to.
Yeah, I mean, this is about getting client and networking partner referrals. By
Mhm.
searching your clients' connections or your networking referral partner connections, you can identify a list of 20, 30, 40 people that you know that they're connected to that you'd like to know. Get on a call, run the names by them, get their insights. Maybe it comes down to 8 people that they say this would be great for you. And then ask them permission to drop their name. Is it okay, Bob, when I reach out that I mentioned that you're my happy client, that we had this conversation and you thought it made sense for me to reach out to them? And you say, oh yeah, absolutely. So now I connect and I'll say, Gunnar, Bob Woods and I were chatting the other day. Your name came up in our conversation. I've been working with him for the last 2 years doing X, Y, and Z, and he thought I should reach out and introduce myself. Let's connect. Once they connect, Bob, per Gunnar's recommendation, I'd love to jump on a quick call, learn a little bit more about what you're doing. I'll share about what Gunnar and I were chatting about, and we'll set a time to review. Let me know your preferred way of scheduling. If it happens to be via calendar link, here's mine. Very simple, very easy to do, and my goodness, it has huge impact.
Absolutely. I mean, LinkedIn came into this world as a networking platform, partially so for this whole referral thing. So, I mean, it's all fantastic in terms of all that. So, yeah, very good. So we got the inbound, we got the outbound. We gave you 3 valid, powerful workflows, all of which we have used ourselves, and we know that they work. So now go forth and use LinkedIn and social selling in the inbound and outbound way.
Thanks, Bob. As always, so much fun.
So much fun. And thank you for joining us on Making Sales Social Live. If you're with us live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter right now, we do this every week. So keep an eye out for those live sessions. If you're listening to us on our podcast and you haven't subscribed already, we'd like for you to do so. So go ahead and hit that subscribe or follow button or whatever it is on the platform that you're on to access all of our previous shows and be alerted when new ones drop. For info, go to socialsaleslink.com/podcast. We do 2 shows weekly, this one and our Making Sales Social interview series, where we talk with leaders and experts in sales, marketing, business, and many more related areas. So when you are out and about, be sure to make your sales
social. Bye, guys.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. Don't miss an episode. Visit socialsaleslink.com/podcast. Leave a review down below. Tell us what you think, what you learned, and what you want to hear from us next. Register for free resources at linkedinlibrary.com. You can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Play. Visit our website, socialsaleslink.com, for more information.